point, one of the participants of that big group of listeners was this woman. Her name was Julie Scott, and she came up to me and she said, here she is, and she said, you know, Korchak is my hero. And that was kind of, you know, I came from the country where many people knew about Korchak. I studied Korchak, and I was thinking, wow, a teacher from Spokane, which is on a good day 4.5 hours drive to Seattle, you know, just in the middle of nowhere. Forgive me, Julie, but and I thought, what would she know about Korchak? And then in the process, talking and meeting again and again at different places. In fact, she said, I came specifically from Spokane to listen to this lady about Korchak. I don't think I satisfied her interest much. I think actually that she knew more about Korchak than I at the time. Anyways, I want to return you to that particular slide we've seen several times. And I want you to check that box, which is now highlighted. Korchak was not just a teacher of young teachers. He was, and he still is, a teacher of all teachers. Because any teacher, as you heard from Isla's experience, any teacher can take something, develop, and have a huge curriculum out of it, right? And Korchak is definitely an inspiration, and I don't think he will ever cease being an inspiration. So back to Julie. When we started, I invited her to the conference last year, and she did a wonderful presentation. She was very nervous. I was really surprised because she's a teacher with over 30 years of experience in the classroom. She was extremely nervous, like literal, like trembling. And she brought her husband, who was a support system, and who was looking at her like, Julie, do it. And she did a fabulous job. But what is really interesting, when I asked her to write for the book, she said, no, you know, just writing for the book could be too much. I said, okay, let's do an interview. So we did a long interview. She sent a number of materials, and out of this interview, we put it as is into the book. So what I learned talking with her, I asked her why Korchak, why a teacher from Spokane would talk about Korchak all of a sudden, out of all people, a teacher of English, not of history, social studies. And she said she became involved with Holocaust education, and then she visited Poland, she visited Treblinka, she saw the stone, Korchak, and the children. By the way, I posted, I'm just making a pause to say it. On the Twitter, Lieutenant Governor Janet Austin put our photo talking about the Korchak Institute. You can check on tweets from Lieutenant Governor. And second of all, when I posted it on my Facebook, all of a sudden I got a response from one teacher in Washington with a photo of the stone, Korchak, and the children saying, I'm right now in Warsaw, and here, and that's where I am. And that's a greeting to your group from me, from Warsaw, right from there, from Treblinka. So she said that she learned about Korchak. She started reading and meeting with people who knew more. And then the particular impulse was this survey of U.S. College students, which showed that the level of empathy went down 40% in comparison with 1970s and 80s. I'm slightly skeptical about how you actually measure the level of empathy, which is always kind of a question for me. But in any case, if it brought her to do what she's been doing since then, it's good still. So, yeah. So I asked her in the interview what were the goals which actually she puts for herself while teaching Korchak. And I thought it's absolutely fascinating. The first goal is to develop empathy. And I believe, I'm not going to read it all, and you see it from the screen, right? And I'll put it on Canvas, so you will have a PowerPoint. So it's not just developing empathy, it's also social awareness and making responsible decisions. She is an incredible teacher. You should see her with the students, and she has connections with those she was teaching. She's been teaching in the same community all her life, so you can imagine, right? So she knows everyone, and wherever she goes, people meet and greet. So in terms of this project, the overarching goal, she says, I hope the students will manage to establish these meaningful relationships with trusted adults. So back to what Ira was talking, it's also the goal of knowing, learning how to establish relationships. And that's where Korchak was brilliant. And that's where we can learn from him. So now this whole idea, found poetry, what she's doing, it's part of the curriculum. The school principal allows this project as part of the curriculum. So she teaches about Korchak, she teaches how to write poems, and then every student in the classroom does a poem. She checks these poems, and then if they want to, they read them out loud. So I have a number of illustrations of these poems. Don't look for brilliancy in poetry. They are not Pushkin, if you know the name, but they are really brilliant in terms of the impulse and the message. And this is a high poverty school. This is a school with lots of immigrant children. This is a school which is the farthest possible from being accomplished. And all of a sudden, these kids talking about Korchak, about empathy, about how to be responsible for their actions, and they beautifully draw and write. I will give you all of those, and you can either exchange or, I will leave all of those. So this is on canvas. This is actually done as a painting on canvas. And all of those are like this, or like that, or anything else. So what we will do now, I will give maybe 3 of each to you. They are all different. And then you will read them to yourselves and read out loud one or a couple, whatever you find striking, if you do. And then try to explain why, okay? I just wanted you to have, so let's do this. I'll give this and you, yeah, please, yeah. And here and behind, and Judith, I can give you, Julia, here. Okay. Yeah. More to the go.
We just take one?
No, you can take 3. Enjoy yourself, take 3. And there are more, once more, over here. And who didn't get, no? Okay, who has more than 3? So a couple of minutes.
That's it.
So consider this is the 8th grade. They are, what, 13, 14 years old. They never heard about Holocaust before. They never heard about what's a ghetto. They never heard about Korchak. The only thing she doesn't know, that is how to pronounce the name. But as we said before, that's sad. That's what's happening in America. Okay? So who wants to start?
I want to start.
Sure.
Let's think about, accidents. He taught them that it's best to forgive someone, because if they didn't know, now they do. Or because they were tucked into something bad, next time they won't listen. So maybe
Yeah.
that's all.
Okay, Roman.
Well, it starts with the most important rule was that of forgiveness. And then also, I always felt best among children.
Okay, okay. Do you want to show paintings? Is there anything which is really beautiful, which you want to show? You can imagine, not everyone is an artist. Yeah, and she allows tracing. She tells children if you can't, she allows tracing. But don't you think it's fascinating how they do it? Who else? Alice, do you want to read
Oh
something?
yeah, I think this poem is really really beautiful. Is it read by 8-year-old? That's amazing. So I'm gonna share a few
Sure.
sentences. So this title is His Love, and then there's like beautiful teddy bear here, and then the person wrote, he would create a better world with no suffering. He built imaginary kingdom of blocks defending their rights in a war, and his love brought the comfort during the grief. So that's really, really nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Elisa, do you want to read?
Yeah. So in this poem, the part that was really striking to me is how they wrote, he let the children govern themselves. He taught them that sometimes making a mistake is the best way to not make it again. Just, I got very succinct.
Okay. Ira, do you want to read yours?
Beloved author, the story of a hero walking down the street, still walking. A beloved author. Books for children and about children, a beloved author. Not justice, but shall try for justice. Not the truth, but wants the truth, a beloved author. Open and dignified, it is best to forgive, bound in chains that hamper the will, a beloved author. Defend the timid, that they may not be bothered by the strong. What would they think if I condemn in some, would I defend in others, a beloved author? I never wish anyone ill, and I cannot. I do not know how it is done, a beloved author.
Yeah, beautiful, right? Secret, do you want to read?
Maybe not a little bit long, but I just wanted to kind of point out that 2 out of the 3 of mine were actually they really grabbed on to I guess the conditions in the ghetto and how Korchak made that better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Hello.
This is entitled, If You Were His Child. If you were his child, you would feel safe standing by him. You would listen to his words. You would read his books. You would play games with him. If you were his child, he would help you with your homework. He would respect your beliefs. He would give you candies. He would let you draw on his bald head. If you were his child, you could mess up and do better next time. You would easily forgive others. He would take in ghetto children needing shelter. He never wished bad things would happen to people. If you were his child, he would never leave you, even if it meant you would have to die.
What do you think? I'm just thinking now, if a kid writes this, the kid would never become a bad father if this is a bully. This sticks with you, right? You listen to this, you learn about this person, you write about him. Hardly ever you would become a bad person. At least that's how I feel. That's the impact the teacher can make on a student. I actually asked Julie about whether she writes poems or poetry herself. She said she does. So I asked her sharing something with us, and she did. And what she shared, I think, and also I will give it to you. It's one page. I printed it for everyone. This is quite remarkable. When she was in Treblinka first, in 2005, she had her personal journal, and she kept it. So she shared with me the notes from that journal and the poem she wrote at the time. Don't judge, because she's not a professional poet, of course, but I think the message is unbelievable. So I will read it, it's short. Thursday, July 14, 2005. Treblinka was very meaningful for me today. I'm trying to write about my feelings as I go along this time and not keep them all bottled up inside. Treblinka was meaningful to me because it was in Poland in 1998 that I met my personal hero, Janusz Korczak. He perished in Treblinka in August of 1942, and he had many chances to save himself. I always wonder what I would have done had I been in his shoes. Could I have gone to my death like that? Or would I have saved my own skin? I guess I can only hope I would have done the brave and noble thing. As I thought about Janusz Korczak today, I put my thoughts down into a poem. It probably isn't very good, but it expresses my true feelings about this great man, this great Polish Jew who was a hero. And now here's her poem. It's entitled, Korczak, You Are My Hero. Korczak, you are my hero. I only met you 7 years ago, yet you are my hero. In a selfish world with so few selfless souls, your memory is a beacon calling to me, challenging me, and you are my hero. If only I possessed your courage and strength, if only I exemplified your devotion and love, if only. But you will remain my hero always. You led by example, even to your death. I met you again at Treblinka, and I hope some of you left Treblinka with me. I met you 7 years ago, and I returned to Treblinka to mourn you again, but also to celebrate the memory of your goodness. You are my hero, Korczak. Isn't it beautiful? So take one for yourselves, please. And I think this is it. I want you to remember how many ways, different ways, are there in the world of education and instruction to actually teach Korczak. And when I say teach Korczak, I don't mean directly teach Korczak. I mean keeping the spirit, the memory, the life of his passion. I think this is the way to make the world of childhood better. And Julie in that small Spokane, or Ira in, forgive me please, in that small town where he lives, doing this and doing it beautifully. This is possible. And I always, because I'm from a medical family, I learned a long time ago, Doctors Without Borders, you know this movement. So I keep talking about Korczakians Without Borders, unite.